Bryce Anderson is in for his best season at Texas A&M.
You are Locked On Aggies, your daily podcast on the Texas A&M Aggies. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on in to Locked On Aggies. I'm your host, Andrew Stefaniak. Thanks for making Locked On Aggies your first listen every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Nissan. Are you the kind of driver that likes to push things a little further? Ever wonder what adventure could be around the next corner? Take the Nissan Rogue, Nissan Pathfinder, or Nissan Armada and go find your next big adventure. Check them all out today at nissanusa.com. So today, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to run through a few names of players who have been at Texas A&M, not transfers, not new guys, been at Texas A&M for a little while, and I think they're in it for their best season. So the first name, of course, as already mentioned, is Bryce Anderson. And I think that he and then a few players we're going to talk about in a minute are guys that are position groups that weren't the best last year. You know, the secondary, Bryce Anderson at the nickel, it was not the best. The whole secondary was not his best last year. We all know that. You know, we talk about that here on the show all the time. And I think Bryce Anderson, you know, he wasn't the issue, but he wasn't the, solution either. Like, I think was he the one getting burned every play? No. But did he get burned here and there? Did he make a bad decision, bad play? Yes. You know, if I had to give his season a grade, probably say a B, a B, B minus, B, a B. Like, it wasn't awful. You're not scared to go home and show your parents your report card on a B, but it's like, you're not, stoked about it either. So I think Bryce Anderson, there's something about just continuing to be in a program and develop. And, the change of scheme is going to be interesting. How does that affect this defense? How does that affect these players? But I don't, I'll be interested to hear, when we get into press conferences and stuff like that here in a few weeks, like, how are these players adapting to the new offense and defense and learning the new systems? And because it's important, but I don't think it's as difficult as some folks make it out to be. So I think, and Bryce Anderson and the rest of the defense is going to learn this new terminology, all that stuff pretty quickly. But I just think Bryce Anderson's in for a good season. I think there's something about a new perspective. You bring in some new coaches to help develop Bryce Anderson, whether it's secondary coach, whether it is Elko, whether it's Bateman, to develop him as a player. And I think that new perspective, okay, we watch the tape. I think we need to work on this and this, and I think sometimes a perspective of a new coach can help see what's wrong and fix issues and develop you as a player. So I think Bryce Anderson's in a good spot. I think that he's going to have a really good season. I think he's going to get his report card up to an A from a B. I think he's going to have a good year, and he's going to help really shut down opposing offenses. So Anderson is my number one veteran guy that I think could be in for his best season at Texas A&M. My number two guy is Moose. What went down last year is always going to be a mystery, because when Moose was on the field, he was doing great things. That's still beside me what was going on. I don't know. Beside the point today. But, Moose is a really good wide receiver. There's no debate to this. He is a really good wide receiver. It's in his, just like his father before him, it's in his DNA, and he's just a great football player. I fully believe that if given proper targets, he can be a star, again in the SEC. And it's going to be tough because you have a lot of talented receivers. It's like, is Moose the guy? And I'd be crazy to sit here and say no. I mean, I'm high on Jade Walker. I'm high on Noah Thomas. I like Jabri Barber. We talked about him a little bit yesterday. But I would be, I'd be crazy. I'm high on Tees. I'd be crazy to sit here and say there's not a shot in the world that Moose isn't the guy for this team as the receiver, for this receiving room. And is it highly likely? I don't know if I'd say highly likely, but I'd say it's higher than 15, 20% chance that he's the dude. I really like Jade Walker. I think he is going to be the dude, and it's going to be hard to take it away from him, but you never know. So Moose is my next guy. I think he could be in for and the ball's going to be spread around. I think he could be in for 600 yards, maybe. You get 400 or 500 to Noah Thomas. You get 800, maybe 1,000 Jade Walker. Jabri Barber mixes in there. Tees mixes in there. You get some other guys. I mean, I think Moose could be in for a really good year. So I'm excited to see him. I mean, he can make the spectacular catches, but it's not, he can win 50-50 balls. He's quick. Moose can do it all. So I'm excited to see what his season looks like. My next guy is Shemar Turner. I think he's in for just a monster year. A monster season. Him coming back was huge. That was huge news a few months ago. And I think Shemar Turner is going to kick it up to the next level. I think he's already had a solid Texas A&M career, and I think he's going to take it to the next level. I think Anderson and Moose are a little bit different because I think, Moose wasn't on the field a ton last year. Anderson didn't have his best season. I thought Shemar had a good year last year, and I think he's going to be in for a better year this year. I think he can really elevate his game and turn. I think he can get NFL scouts very, very, very interested if he puts, some good tape down, does a good job helping with the run, maybe gets a career high in sacks. I think Shemar Turner can have a really good season. So I'm excited to see what his year looks like. And then my next guy, and this one's pretty obvious, but it's Connor Weigman. He's a veteran now, ladies and gentlemen. And he is. This is we're talking junior. So Connor Weigman would have had an amazing year last year if he stayed on the field. He wasn't able to stay healthy, and that cost him some numbers. So I think this season, if Connor Weigman is able to stay healthy, he can have a dominant season. I think he can be a top 5 quarterback in the SEC. I do still believe Connor Weigman can be an NFL quarterback. I think if he puts together a good year this season, that is perfectly reasonable to happen. So I'm high on Connor Weigman. I think he's going to have a good year. I think I think that he's going to have a better year this year than he would have had last year had he stayed healthy. That's how good I think he's going to be. And I do think there's a ceiling of a top 3 quarterback in this conference. Legit with the added teams, I do think that is the ceiling. Now is the floor. It's not quite there, but Connor Weigman is a great football player, and he's in for a really good season. And I think he could be. He himself is good for an extra win or two this year for Texas A&M. And then my next guy I got here is Donovan Green. Once again, you everydayers here at Locked On Aggies know that I am a huge Donovan Green fan. Love Donovan Green. I think he's going to be an incredible player. I still think he's an NFL talent. I think he has a good mix of athleticism, blocking ability. Obviously, he's more of a pass catcher than he's a blocker, but I think he can do both. And I think he could be a guy with a good season this year and maybe a good season next year is the NFL comes calling. So Donovan Green, and how he responds from the ACL injury is going to be interesting. They did go get a couple tight ends from the portal, but I don't think that's because of any concern for Donovan Green's injury. I think that Donovan Green now is it going to take him a little bit to get back? Yes, it's going to take him a little bit to get back, but he's going to be. I think for season start, he'll be ready to rock and roll. And just like I said, heading into last season, I think he's going to be in for a huge season. I think he showed a lot 2 years ago, then suffers the ACL tear right before the season's supposed to start in a year that I thought he was going to put up a ton of numbers. So, I think Green is in for a big year. I think he's going to lead the tight ends. Perhaps some of these transfers are going to play a bigger role than I think. But I'm just a huge Donovan Green guy. I think he's going to have a massive season. We've got two more offensive linemen to talk about that I think could be in for their best season at Texas A&M. And we'll have that conversation coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. But first, I want to tell you about our friends over at Nissan. This week's March Madness bracket highlight is brought to you by our friends at Nissan. Each week, we're picking one team that stands out, a team that's pushed it further than the rest, just like any of the all-new 2024 Nissan SUVs. These guys were able to take it to the next level. The Utah State Aggies are obviously this week's Nissan Rogue. The team absolutely surprised us with a powerful performance against New Mexico, giving them their first outright Mountain West title in program history. They say win life, go rogue, and that's exactly what the Aggies have done here. Take the Nissan Rogue, Nissan Pathfinder, or the Nissan Armada and go find your next big adventure. Shop NissanUSA.com today. So I want to get into a couple offensive linemen. First is Trey Zuhn. I know that some folks are up and down about Trey Zuhn, but PFF just listed him as the top 10 returning tackle. Now he was number 10, but a top 10 returning tackle in football. And, that's great to see. Zuhn last year, I think he had a better year. In all honesty, I think the guy we're going to talk about next was more of the issue on the offensive line than Zuhn. I think Zuhn, once again, kind of like Anderson, was it a perfect year? No, it wasn't a perfect year. But I thought that he showed signs of improvement, signs that he can be at his size. He's a big guy, signs that he can be a solid offensive lineman. So I think Zuhn's in for a good season. Adam Cushing, the new offensive line coach, has proven he can develop talent, proven he can have solid offensive lines statistically. And I think that he's going to really help Trey Zuhn develop. Trey Zuhn has the size, strength, and everything to be an NFL tackle. He does. So I think that a little development, a little more, because we know it's not really, now, does Tommy Moffitt coming in help? Of course. But I don't think it's really a strength and conditioning problem. I think it's more of a, offensive line. You got to be strong. You got to have long arms. You got to, there's that side of it. And then there's the understanding defenses, understanding, they're going to run a twist. And we got to be able to, these guys are going to flip. And we got to know who we're blocking. It's a lot of that. A lot of poor offensive line play comes from losing your guy to a stunt rather than just flat out getting beat. Now, you're going to get beat some, but I think the development factor there is what Zuhn needs, and I think Coach Cushing can give him that. So I think Trey Zuhn could be in for a solid season, a really good year, and potentially turn himself into an NFL draft pick. The next time we got here is Bryce Foster. I know folks are going to scream and yell at the TV because he did not have a good season last year. He did not have a good season. No, there is no sugarcoating that. There's not. But I still believe in the talent there. I still believe in the talent. And I could be wrong on this one. This is the one I could be. I really, if I'm going to be wrong on one, I feel like it's going to be Bryce Foster. But, I think that he had the talent's in there. I think someone's got to bring it out of him. Could that be Coach Cushing? I think there's a world where Coach Cushing can bring that talent out of him. And if he does, I think Bryce Foster has it in him to be a really solid offensive lineman. So maybe it's wishful thinking. Maybe I'm just hoping for something here. But I do think Bryce Foster could have a solid season. I'm just convinced of it. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what he does. Him and Zuhn, because listen, the season is going to go as those two go, really. And then, of course, the rest of the offensive line. But these two, are going to be key. If you want to be a good football team, if you want to have a good season, you have to have good offensive line play. It's so simple. I thought Texas A&M's offensive line play was fine at times, bad at times a season ago, and it needs to be better. It needs to be consistently good. If you want to win football games, you have to have your quarterback have time in the pocket. Your receivers have time to develop their routes and get open, and then be able to create holes for your running game. If the offensive line can't do that, you can't have a great offense. It's just reality here. So Zuhn and Foster being good is going to be everything for this team. And hey, if somebody wants to transfer or somebody wants to give them a run for their money at a starting role, sure, but once again, I think these guys are going to be out there, and I think they're going to have a good year. And I think Coach Cushing can really help elevate this offensive line to the next level. So those are the guys I think that are going to be veterans that could be in for their best season. And now I want to answer a few mailbag questions, and then we will preview the A&M Ole Miss game coming up later this evening. But a few mailbag questions, and some are basketball related. We'll talk more if Texas A&M gets the win over Ole Miss tonight. We'll break more of this down tomorrow. But first of all, can Texas A&M make a run in the SEC tournament? I mean, they're playing good ball right now, ladies and gentlemen. They're playing good ball right now. Manny Obaseki getting hot helps. That's reality. Him getting hot helps you. He's given you double digits in 4 straight games. I think 25 and 17 in his last 2 games. Gave you 25 against this Ole Miss team that we're playing tonight on Saturday. So, not more than likely, they already said, if you win this game, you're playing Kentucky. Kentucky's also playing good ball. So that'll be really interesting. Kentucky's playing good basketball right now. So is Texas A&M. If you blow the brakes off Ole Miss again, you're feeling confident. They're feeling confident. Let's play ball. You've proven you can beat this team once. I think this Kentucky team is different now than what they were the last time you played them. They got some guys back healthy, and they're shooting the ball well. They're starting to defend a little bit better. But you still beat this team. You should be confident. Hey, we've beaten this team. We can do it again. And I think, and then that, I guess, so can they make a run? I think that, in all honesty, if you get past the way you're playing right now, if you can get past Kentucky, I think you can get past Florida or Alabama. I do. I really do. I think getting past Kentucky is going to be key. And it's going to be tough. This is not an easy ask. So step 1 tonight is to beat Ole Miss. And we'll talk about that game here in a minute. And then and then tomorrow, assuming the Aggies get the win, we'll talk about Kentucky on Friday, which I will be at that game, assuming Texas A&M is able to get the win. So that'll be a good time. So make the NCAA tournament ? That is going to come down, I think, to can you win a couple games here? And then even then, it's like, do they care? Do they care? I mean, your chances aren't high, but the way you're playing right now, if you make a run and you win 2 games in Nashville, maybe you win 3, you never know. It's hard to say to not have this team. Basically, Texas A&M is one of the best 68 teams in college basketball. There's no doubt in my mind there, but you get the automatic qualifiers, and it gets hard to get in and all that. And so basically the point here is, if Texas A&M wins a couple games in Nashville and they don't make the tournament, a team deserving of being in the tournament won't make it. And that's frustrating. Playing in this tough conference that I think is the second best conference right behind the Big 12 is frustrating, but it could be the reality. But to give yourself a chance, all you can do is win. All you can do is win and see what happens. So just play hard, win, and see what happens. Last question. I don't want to go deep into this because I'm going to talk about, we'll break down the baseball series tomorrow. But baseball series prediction. I'll give you my series prediction, and we'll break it down tomorrow. I think the Aggies go win it. I think they win the series. Now, I don't think Texas A&M is undefeated leaving this weekend. I do think they're going to drop. They're going to drop a game to Florida, but I think they go 2-1. I think they win this series. I really have a feeling about it. I just think they're playing good baseball. Florida has, run into a few bumps in the road so far this year, and I think it's going to be a fun series between a whole bunch of players that are future MLB players on a baseball field at once. If anybody's on spring break or anything, I recommend heading down to this series because it'll be a fun one. I can't wait to watch these games. But I think the Aggies win this series, and it's going to be a really fun one. I cannot wait to see how this series plays out. We're going to preview the Texas A&M Ole Miss game coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. But first, I got to tell you about our friends over at Fire TV. Fire TV is your destination for sports, from live games to highlights to in-depth analysis. Fire TV offers amazing viewing experiences with smart TVs as well as Fire TV Stick that you can plug into your existing TV that provides access to millions of movies and TV episodes as well as free and live TV. Whether it's opening weekend for baseball or college basketball tournament, you're going to want to have a Fire TV. Then we're going to talk a little bit about the Fire TV channels. Fire TV recently created Fire TV channels to deliver a constant supply of the latest videos from your favorite sports brands, all for free. That includes all of us here at Locked On and most of the big pro leagues and college conferences as well. Fire TV channels let you dive into all of the game analysis, highlights, and more to keep up to date on all of the latest in the world of sports, March Madness, NBA, MLB, and lots more. Not to mention great news, entertainment, gaming, traveling, cooking videos as well. Check out Fire TV channels on Fire TV and Alexa devices. If you haven't checked out Fire TV channels, you should. Trust me on this. To learn more, visit www.amazon.com/LockedOnFireTV. Also want to tell you about our friends over at eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride or die every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. So, previewing this basketball game, it's going to be an interesting one. But the number one key for me is keep Manny Obaseki scoring points. That has completely changed Texas A&M's offense. Ever since he started to give you double digits, this team is playing better basketball. It's a very simple concept. When you have multiple guys out there, we talked about when this offense was just Boots and Wade Taylor, you're one-dimensional. You are one-dimensional, and that often is not going to get the job done. And I think that was, has been the case this year. There's not, I talk about all the time, there's not been much offense. It's dribble around. You have a whole bunch of guys on the floor who can't score, and then Boots or Wade Taylor shoot the ball. Sometimes it's not a good shot. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it falls. Sometimes it doesn't. That is not the way to run an offense. The way to run an offense is to have 3, 4, 5 guys out there who can score, maybe one who's a rebound specialist like Garcia, and then you find a way to put up points. And I think having that extra guy who can shoot it from deep, who can score from in the interior like Obaseki has been, takes that offense to the next level. So I think the number one key, once again, I would love to see Obaseki score 15 points in this game this evening. That would be awesome, because I think it's proof of concept. It proves to you, hey, when he scores, Texas A&M wins basketball games. So, I'm excited to see how he plays tonight. I think, you need him. You need him to play well. And then, once again, you need your veterans. This is a tournament that Boots and Wade Taylor have played in before, and they played well in before. Make a run. Do this. If you want to play in the postseason, if you want to play in the NCAA tournament, you got to win a couple games here to have a chance, to even have a chance. So, Wade and Boots, these are the guys these are supposed to be the guys. They are the guys. So they need to get rocking and rolling. They need to get playing well. I think they need to be more efficient from the field. I don't want to see any more Wade Taylor 5 for 17 stat lines. I'd love to see 50, 60% shooting from the field. And I know it's tough when he's shooting a ton of threes. It's not easy, but I'd love to see him be a little bit more efficient with his shots. And then Boots, put your head in the ground, drive, get to the rim, Score that way. If you're open, shoot threes. Help on the boards. Boots had 10 rebounds the other day in the win over Ole Miss. That stuff helps. Having your guards help rebound helps win basketball games. So that's going to be huge. And then, Anderson Garcia, continue. Live on that glass. Live on that glass. He is, I think, one of the best rebounders in all college basketball. That's why, Mark Sears saw a video of him saying, who's your starting five in the SEC? He had Garcia, and he called him Dennis Rodman. And he rebounds the basketball. He does a great job of rebounding, offensive rebounds, defensive rebounds. He does it all. He gets this team extra possessions. Keep doing that. And then, don't let the guards of Ole Miss get hot. Murray, I think, scored 20 the other day, but you held down Flanagan. Morrell only had 11. Hold those guards down. They can score in bunches. You did a great job of not letting them get involved. The last time you played them on Saturday, do it again in this game. Hold down those guards, and you should be able to win this basketball game. So, number one key, Obaseki, get hot, stay hot, makes this team better, makes this offense better. And then, Wade and Boots, play well, be efficient. This is your time. You're the older guys. You've been here. This team wants to make a run. You got to make it happen. So, fun weekend at Texas A&M sports. You got a potential SEC tournament run. You got a massive series coming up with Florida to get SEC play rocking and rolling for the baseball team. A lot of exciting stuff. Tomorrow, we'll talk about hopefully a Texas A&M win. We'll break down this Florida series, and we'll really get into all of that. That is going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Aggies. Thank you all so much for being here every single day. I really, really appreciate it. Everybody enjoy the ball game tonight. Get excited for this weekend of sports, and we will see you tomorrow.